High channeling, high interference, high positional program setting, resetting generation light streams, all communications online. Do you understand that when you come into all line center interference, do you understand what you're seeing through calculations? Do you understand how to use this through all protocol system locations? How to use the U online center, how to use U through data stream, how to use U through pane interference in this location and track locations. Sometimes you really have to go back to the drawing board, and that's totally fine. Sometimes you have to go back to A, B's, and C's. What is A, B, and C? How is D anything different from A? How is A any different from B? Well, it's A, B, C, D. That's the communication of difference. So you have to understand each atmosphere location has its position and directions. Using your alphabetical stream centers is to understand how to use you in calculations. Now we're going to go through the keyboard interference. We're going to go through the motherboard or high center. I'm going to step you guys into all levels. You have a keyboard that's given to you through time frame, time calculations, time keywords, gatekeeper, and all line center line interference location, the gatekeeper. High interference, high channels, it's game center, opens all communication to a system, right? As you come into high interference, all levels of time sequence, time codes, you understand more line centers, okay? So referencing your data stream is truly understand you through calculations. It's how you use this in all line system. So it's important you understand, today we go through the scepter line, right? This is the motherboard. So as you go through the motherboard, you have to learn how to use an USB. We already know that position location through computer interference. So you're going to go through 12 line center location, your 12 DNA locations, right? You have to really, really understand how to use that. So you're going to be given a keyboard line center. You're going to have to learn how to use your flight navigations from 1 to 12. All right. Code signal interference locations. After that, your travel interference, we go through the high interference location to its quiz. The quiz will give you high channel, high center interference position program setting. That will help you in all position location of its directions. All right. All right. So in calculation, let's see where we are. All right. Cami, how's it going? Jenny, how's it going? Madeline, how's it going? Suzanne, how's it going? Jordan, they're coming into diversion locations. It's great to see. Fee, how's it going? Jill, how's it going? Don, how's it going? Terry, how's it going? Michael, how's it going? Andre, how's it going? Veronica, Johnny, Sam, Lindsay, Gypsy. Oh, Gypsy's at work. JP, Yolanda. So even if you're missing high interference, it doesn't matter. Everything's done through equation interference. It just all levels of U through memory. So everything I do through school is all levels of U, right? I had to go through the GPS line centers, location, and directions. So it's all about levels of U through map, mapping travels, communication, and GPS lines to its calculation line stream. Jessica, how's it going? So I really want to get into that. We have Zoom tomorrow. I really want to get into scanning and all levels of pain. Pain surfaces in the high interference locations. So it's all about understanding how to use your digital line center, pro pattern interference location line conditions, right? So let's say you got 26,000 wires and each one is position location of directions. You have a data stream that's coming in high interference. So you have to truly understand, use the colorations, because if your coloration change over time, you have to learn how to change it back. It's interesting that comes out of position locations because it's all about understanding how to use your computer locations to its merging its position or rotation, understanding all lines and locate transisting to transmission to its calculation, a transformation. It helps all levels of U through calculations, right? It regenerates light streams and opens all position location of its directions. All right. So, questions or comments afterwards, after class? All right, setting signals and high interference. Now, when you guys travel, you're going to travel through the high lines, interference, location, and direction. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go through all level rotation. Now you have to choose the coloration. Now that tracks its interference of its position. All right, so once you come into that calculations, this is what you come into. It's all line center interference location. Okay. And translution. All right. So it's reading the signal interference where the sun is in high line. Okay. Sun's position of here in high interference. Okay, moon position line center is here in high interference. Okay, now its position locations. Now we go into the yellow line center because its position location that directs right to the mother ship. We set course line centers in high position location of directions. All right, I circle its high line center interference in position of direction. See that? Comes into calculations. Now the weave in system location is a power generation light center. Now that goes all the way to the ground line center. Okay. We mix position locations of color. You guys, if you understand why we change colors in high interference and position of grounds, communication system, allocates high stream interference locations to the mother ship, sets course rechannel line centers locations to plasma blue interference in position of direction, opens all channel line centers, sets the line stream in high rotation, pyramid comes in position location of direction. Okay, so the pyramid's set up in high interference. This is where it comes into the elixir. Elixir comes into red and blue. So it's interesting how to put the colors together. If anybody's taking chemistry, you have to understand how to mix colors and balance the communications back into the binary reset codes. It set position locations of its direction location to its connection to the sun and position locations of the moon. Setting course line centers in high interference. Now we all level its position location. We have to go through the sacral communications center. That's the creative system locations. So that centers its position, changes its coloration of vector line center into the center point location. All right, as it comes into center point location, we go into the scepter line. The scepter line hides its high interference. It changes its opposition location to its translucent. High inner location to its calculation system. Right, translucent, right, see? Now, at position locations is directions. Everything has to be in triangulation, see? See how it's set up in position? Setting high interference, crossing signals, okay? Downshifting, okay? Setting up position locations into all level of division location of its direction, okay? How to set it up through signal, okay? So it's very powerful when you come into that rotation. All right, so I'm going to hold on a sec here. So as you guys travel, you understand how powerful it is to actually go through all levels of high line center. It's all about merging location of coloration of change, right? See? It's all about understanding what you're doing through travel, position, location, and direction. All right, so as it's setting up, you can see the runway. See the runway? Runway set up as locations. All right, now we got high interference, high level connections. We got the tower line center in here position. This is the tower. Tower's there. Okay, confirmation location of Michael. Sets out code signal locations of position, right? Regeneration, light streams, and high position location of direction. Now, as we go into high interference, code signal line center set up in scepter interference. Thumb indication location. It's signal high interference line condition direction, fluctuation line conditions, channel high interference, and Merkabah change. Calculation high streams. So I'm going to set up your keyboard line center, interference, position, and directions. Okay, so we're going to go through the security line. Security line, its position, location of direction. Line signals its position, right? So we come into levels of your keyboard. Comes in position, location of its direction. This is your keyboard that's given to you through hologram structure. You have to learn how to use it through track location. There's your keyboard. Now it's high center and it's high and inline rotations coming into calculation of center point location to its position. All right, right there. As it comes to position, open up dimensional line center and rotation to its position location. Right? Now it's channeling through. Now we go through the 12 DNA line center of flight navigations 1 to 12. Travel through its code line center interference, set code signal location, initiate high positions, press the button communication system. Signaling interference, high position location, line conditions. Retract high center generation light centers. Code signal locations, levels, ground security unit 1 position, all levels, squad unit 1 and 2 position locations into GFL rebellion. High center location is mass communication ascension gods. High interference, travel position location line system. Okay, high stream interference, security position line direction, circle on high system, travel through line interference, in position. So we travel through, we go to space line. As we're going through space line, we filter its communication eye scepter interference. One line center location of the sun, one line center location of the moon, ear line rotation on the right line center, left line position location into its diamond core of its template line interference, and position location of north and south. high interference location of direction. Opens 8-track line center interference in position location of high system. In calculations, high stream interference in the center position location, triangulation. You need a triangulation if you're going to go through the scepter line. Right there, there's the triangulation, right? In calculation modification line streams, 30 minutes, have fun. Setting code signal locations, keyboard setting up, high system, flight navigation is 1 to 12. Travel high center interference location and direction. High position location line conditions, high level system. There we go. Track line center setup. Have fun. All right, so present line centers, all line and interference. Retrack high center line and rotations. Joe, thank you for setup. All levels of grounds. You guys have to really, really understand how you use your track lines or anything to setting position location of directions. Right? Okay, Pam, how's it going? All right, so as you guys are traveling into your scepter lines, knowing exactly what it is through high interference. All right, I'm going to set up high line channels. We're going to go through black space location, right? Recording channels, high center. Okay, I really want you guys to get into the hieroglyphic locations. So there's all about understanding how to set things up, how to merge into calculation streams. Now rotates its signals in high position locations of box system locations. We start off with that line center. So it's all about high interference. How to travel through these things is all levels of its point location, right? So now line 1, 2, 3. See the 3-point line centers? Travel through it, right through line interference. Now position locations come into its triangulation. That's all connected to high center interference. All position location of direction. Setting course, read channel line and rotations of high centers of 3, high positions of 6, and high positions of 9 line connection. All right? So this is where it comes into high locations. Now the channel line center changes all line interference. Let's say we go into the purple channel in a rotation. We got 4-point locations on each line of its box location. Okay, it's going to get complicated for you guys. I want you to really understand how to use your travels. Faster and high spin cycles, high channel operation line centers and rotation interference, in position of program setting, right? See how it's on point dot locations. Now it's in set signals. Now, understanding track line centers, you got to cross the signal locations to each box line interference because the T reception line has to reach the signal locations. See it had channels, its line center. Now we merge in position location of point system. Point system has to be in calculation to all one color. It has to recognize high interference and merge interference location of direction. As it's going into the core line center, it's changing high line centers interference location of this box system. Calculation modification to high stream and here. Its location line conditions, right? So the 3, 6, and 9 circles its position location. 3, 6, and 9. High circle, high center. Now in calculation modification to high interference, you always come into a row graph system location of its direction. Okay, high interference location of high system. Now, once you get into modification circles, you have to understand how to use it. You can go through all level system. Everything I do through color is all levels of me. It's all levels of me. All right, radical division locations. So 3 line centers and here position locations. Okay, 3 lines here and 3 lines here. Where's the 6 and 9? It's already in position of the balance line. So in position location and high interference locations comes into 6. And comes into 9. All right, high interference locations, yin and yang. Okay, so in a line rotation, you have to truly understand how to use the 6 position locations of the moon and 9 position locations of U through direction, which is its 1%. Okay, so it channels its offline interference, set position locations of its directions. It codes its signals, electrical lights in both line rotations of left and the right hemisphere line interference. In position locations of levels. So it's electrical stream, okay? Correlation to its interference, okay? As it's coming in high interference, we set the high line ceiling in high interference to the electrical stream line conditions. This opens all channel line centers to Stargate locations. All right, it's interesting, right? It's an amazing pattern, comes in rotation. So as it's set in position, the force of direction timelines changes all lines of yin and yang to its position location, right? As it's coming in high signal, in high positions of travels. Now, this is where you change your keyboard line centers. Circle interference in position locations out of line. So the out of line comes into times pi, all right? Times pi, see? That's sequence locations. Now you can change the coloration line conditions, set up sonar line center and position location of direction, see? So we can set correlation to different colorations of timelines, okay? Set sonars on high interference location alpha channels, alpha communication system. See the coloration change? As the coloration changes, it changes time frame. This is where you have to merge all levels of coloration line connection at all position locations of its directions. So as it's coming into high signals, you have to learn how to use it through all levels. Merging high interference location of its direction, center its high line center 3, sets up line center location of sonar into delta wave channel location of its position. Right? See how it goes higher? See? Different colors, sonar, right? So you keep going around the circle. So the yin and the yang has to stand as reference of its atmospheres. That's position location of its directions. So once you stand the direction line centers, you can reground high interference location of travels, set up a high interference location of sonar into another position location to its mega system. Okay, there's the brown line. So it's amazing how we come into different patterns, different colorations all through sequence. All right. So in position location Jill, when you're in the ground perception locations, you have to learn how to use your sonars at different colorations of your scrambler. It's high interference location lines. So it's all about you guys understanding conditions. And same with Sammy when it comes in all line center location, how to use your compass in all different timeline positions, times calculations, times pi. Trifactor, its communication systems, all levels of 333. 3 line centers, 3 in the center position location. 3 is always the center line, always the center line, okay? And everything through 3 line center is in the locations of its location. What's the intent? What's the will? What's the force? What's the creation? What's the location? It's calculation system, right? So once you get into that high center, you go into all level system. Then you can come into higher levels of channels, right? Into beta, right? Come into beta. And high interference locations, high channels, right? So you can go into the low ground center, into T reception line center interference to theta times pi calculation, done by equation, all right? So it's amazing how you track line centers, all levels, but it's true to understand how to use times pi in each calculation line stream. It's all different correlations of time, position, location, clocking, right? It gets confusing through locations, right? But it's amazing how you correlate the high interference. Now the track line centers in position of, let's say you go through Raman interference location of rainbow graphs. So you got a 24 window, you got a 48 graph, okay, you got a 72 sector, and you got a 144 line system, okay, in calculations. The numbers are in this sequence, right? All right, so I'll go through all levels of black and show you the number of interference of time, frequency, time code, line center, location of channels. All right, so it comes into 24, 48, 72, and 144. Okay, there's the clocking line centers, right? Anything above that, you're mocking position locations of direction. Let's go into green interference, mock. Okay, you're mocking, right? So I'm just showing you how powerful it is, where you can basically start off at 24 line center and go automatically 1 to 144, all through colorations of sonar, all through alpha, delta, theta, beta, and omega. All line center, 5 line centers, 6 within activation, and 7 within 2 vector line center, 1 in position locations, off high cis locations, identification code stream, right? Downshift line wind graph locations, center and tie line interference location of triangulation, 3, 6, and 9 position line interference, code weave line interference locations. Okay, so it's finger point line, digital line, and rotations to a piano, right? So you have to truly understand how to use the code weaving location, the coloration of circles, 2 vector line centers, 3 position, 4 position, 5 position, or 6, 7 line center locations. That's 2 and 2 track line centers of 2 vector core, 3 line centers, 4 position, location, and direction, 5 within system, 6 within core, okay, and 2 with identifications. All levels of the right line and the left position, location of high system, all through sonar. Okay, so there's a lot of things you guys have to understand how to use your fingers and how to use the correlation line conditions. But it's amazing how you graph line centers, right? All through sonar. Colorations of time sequence, but it's amazing how you set up your keyboard locations to its position. All right, so how are we doing? Okay, let's see. Scrambled sending indigo, fire hose, motherboard following up from rainbow wash. Good. Always get an energy wash every time you guys travel. Very important to send that. Before and after. Okay. Yeah, it's balancing what you're seeing, and it's all about understanding going inside and actually seeing what the scepter is, how to realm its position, location, of its direction. So I've just shown you what it is through calculations. Everything I do is modified through signals, but this is how it correlates line centers of 12, 24, 48, okay, 72, 144. You always use 12 as a reference, right? But you need 12 and 12 for 24 position. You can't just go through 12 line. You need 24 to travel through locations. And then you have to understand all line center location times pi times calculation trifactor. You're factoring your communication systems to all levels of travels through all line connections and colorations of different time sequence of 333 and high interference or line center locations, you know? So it's important you understand your clocking system because your realm changes position. So let's say we channel off. Okay, we channel off interference. We got a triangle interference. Okay, we got another triangle interference. Okay, and we got another triangle interference. Okay, and we got another triangle interference. So it's all position of direction. See the intelligence? Intelligence comes in highest signal, high interference, location, and direction. See? You see it, right? You see the intelligence. High signals is positional locations of high center, high rotation line interference. In position of calculation, scans its position line centers, always cross signals on high interference locations of direction. Right? Always, 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 always sending position locations across circle locations. So it's channeled its high line interference. Okay. So it's about balancing everything through your core line center and direction location as division. Right? Resetting generation lights, zip zap zoom, outline center, zip zap zoom, outline center, position location and direction. Right? So it's really understand how to use modification signals, graph line channels, or anything through XT1000 position system. Now, once you come into round box, see the round box? See the little box, those are position, location, and directions to understand all levels of signature locations. So each box represents every cell in your body. Every cell in your body. So track line center location is position. Set them in a graph line channel. You got a box interference, rectangle line center location. Okay. You got a star line center and high interference. See? It's amazing how you blend into the merge interference positional clock centers in calculation line streams. Okay, and then you got indication locations, high levels. Okay, point checks, high interference, point checks, little dots, signal interference and position of program setting. So it's all about understanding all line rotations, circle line interference. See? Circle line interference. See how it all blends together? So you have to really understand what you're doing with the coloration. If you want to change the color, change position, location, and directions, it's amazing how you do these things. All right, so you can go through star line center into black interference. See? Everything is a graph line center of the map. Correlates high line interference and position location solar panels. Okay, so we go through all levels of a planet line. See the planet line rotation? Calculates all levels of position, location, and directions. All right. You come into heart line interference, up, down line interference, location, and line conditions, travels position with directions. Set the course, retrack interference. Or you can go through oval communication system to its high center. Now, in position location, you redirect high system location to the clock line channels. Now, once you come into illumination, you can change anything, of course, centers, but everything has to have a point system location to its directions. Everything needs a location to its system, okay, to its position. All right. As it comes into triangulation, it comes in position. Ooh-ah. Okay. So you're going through a TV line center to its calculations to 2V vector line rotation. See a calculation line stream. Modification lines interference at high position location of its directions. Okay. You see it? Now the TV line is set as a location to its road graph high system. Streamline centers. Okay. That's what it is. So it gets confusing when you try to understand what's going on, right? So as it's signaling, it's crossing signal line and rotations calculation modification to its stream interference. See? As it comes into high interference, the vector communication signals resets generation light centers. Okay? Signal interference. High location. Down its flux capacitor. See the antenna? High channel is its high line center interference. In position of direction. In position of direction. In position of direction. Cross signal. Cross signal. Cross signal. See, it comes in modification line conditions of direction. All right. So as it's coming in direction, it high signals, high line, center location colorations. It changes all lines of rainbow graph interference. Set course retract high system location of its directions. Regenerates its line centers into a T reception line. See, T reception line coming in. All right, so we open all the box interference location rectangle high system. So we calculate and modify all line rotation T reception lines. Okay. As the T reception lines, it comes into all levels in position location of center and rotation. Now we set up a round line channel in position location of misdirection. At high position, this location system. All right. As it's weaving in high interference, we set up a road graph line channel in high interference. Sets a program location to its calculations. Walking system line conditions. Right? Try to understand how it is all position location of U through direction. All right. As it's coming in high interference, it's all about traveling through it. So you got the sun line in position location of direction. Okay. Sun's here. And you got position location of the moon. Now the moon is offline rotation. It's actually in this line condition of the center operation to its graph location, its position, its bridge. Bridge line centers, triangulation, signaling high center, right? Comes in position locations. Now you have to understand how to understand calculations to its direction, right? See the XT1000? Now the XT1000 comes in, scans position location of its directions, sets sonar line interference location of its high system. See? See that? See the XT1000? See that? Isn't it great when you see things through creation lines? See the XT1000, the sonar line rotations? So it's all modified signal, how it's set up through correlation. Okay? Powerful stuff. So you always have to understand how triangulation to its position location. It's all about understanding sonar, because sonar is set up position location in this direction. How you go through 24, 48, 72, 144. Always use 12 as a reference, but you need 12 and 12 to get a 24 signal, right? So it's trying to understand how to use times pi. How much does it calculate from all levels from 12 to 3? 12 to 3, that's 15 minutes. You spent 15 minutes, so what you do in between, that's times pi, all right? So it's times perception. Okay, that's what it means. So you're walking the surf and it takes you 15 minutes to get to work times perception, right? So what is that space in between? What have you done from 12 to 3? And 3 to 6 and 6 to 9. See? 3 to 6 and 6 to 9. Now, once you get into 9 line center, you come into higher position locations of directions. Let's go through the white graph interference. Now, once you go into higher line rotations, you come into higher level locations of clocking. So as you come into 9 line, right? So you got the 12, you got the 3, you got the 6, and you got the 9 in position. So once the 9 comes in position, it goes into the center line center in high position locations, goes up in the 12 line position locations, and goes into high interference. See? So this is all levels of trifactor. Okay? Trifactor. Communication to a system. So again, you go in position locations, you can line cross in high interference. So you come into position locations to its direction. So you set up a compass, a north or south and east, right? So as you come in positions, you're into it's like 4 pieces of pizza. Okay, 4 lines, center line, interference. Box and position location of its directions. Okay, now in calculations, this is how you set up your navigation signals. So you got flight 1, okay, and you got your keyboard here. Keyboard's here, and high interference. That's your keyboard, right? So you got flight navigation 1, flight navigation 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? All that set up. So you can easily flight 1 goes into the center up, high center. Okay, you can go into flight 3. You don't need to see flight 2 because you're already set in position, location, of directions. This is if you want to go to higher levels. So each time you go through flights, right, you start off the ground line centers and position of 2, 3, 4, and all the way up to 12. So what you're doing is you're making the position location of the square bigger in its high line center. That's what you're doing, how you go from flight navigations 1 to 12. You're making your realm bigger. You're making your portal bigger. Okay? You're making your clocking bigger. Okay? So that's all calculation modified. All right, you understand that? So you start off the center and you work your way out. But you need your flight navigations. It's all connected to your keyboard. Right? Because the keyboard is your base. And how to use your flight navigations from 1 to 12 is getting up at better positions. If you want to change the coloration, all you have to do is understanding how to use these line centers. You use escape. Now it's in the left-hand corner of your computer. So you come into line center locations of ESC, escape. All right, so get in position locations, all levels, into all set positions, okay? ESC. So ESC changes position location of directions. ESC, okay, at the top. In position location, so it regenerates the line centers of the sun. The sun comes over here in position location of its directions. Okay, it moves over. All right, so you get into triangulation. See the triangulation? See the intelligence? So as it's coming into ESC, you're escaping in high interference and you're changing the coloration of the center in its position. Right? You triangulate it, flux capacitor. You bring it down in the ground line center. Okay. So you got 3 line centers at 4 positions. So you circle that in position location. It high channels its high line center into its flux capacitor to its coloration of its position. All right. So it's amazing how it processes signals and all about understanding. You can weave line center in rotation in calculations to set 3 coarse line centers as circles, spheres, high channels. But you have to truly understand how to use the flight navigation location of the colors. That's the position location of the direction. So you start out small, you go from here, so you're using different flights. You start off at flight 1. So it's like going from 0 to 60 and 60 and on within a course, right? Right? So that's the importance to use your flight navigations from 1 to 12, right? So it's like a runway. You're taking off, right? You start off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You count to 12, right? And it's also good to go back force because you want to make sure that every signal is in position of direction, okay? So it's all about understanding going from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In that calculation and understanding, your flight navigation is all set up as the location of its directions. How to channel through it is another thing. So every time you want to change position locations, you go through escape. Escape position location changes the coloration. Coloration changes time codes, time interference. So we can change that position locations into all levels of a triangle. See the triangle position? Now, every time you change position, you go from flight 1 to flight 2. All right, so this is flight 2, right? And then you go to flight 3, makes the triangle bigger. And flight 4 makes the triangle bigger. Flight 5 makes the triangle bigger. Flight 6 makes the triangle bigger. See how that works, the correlation? So now you understand the importance, right? This is all about understanding mass, right? E equals mass. You guys are out of calculations. You're coming into velocity. So the velocity is all set up through your 12 DNA through your flights. So understanding flight 1, okay, you start off. So it's flight 1, flight 2, flight 3, flight 4. And once you reach 12, You can go right through it because it's all set up. So you're setting it up. But if you want to change coloration, you have to go through escape. Okay? So it's interesting you come in time frame, timeline, center interference, because if you look at escape on the left-hand position location on the left corner of your computer, it's a locked system. So all your computer is set up. But it's true to understand how to travel through high interference locations, anything through hieroglyphic location of channels. But it's true to understand all levels of view when you come to calculations to its high center to its connections to sonar or scanning locations. 12, 24, 48, 72, and 144. All right. So it's very fascinating when you can set course line center location that it travels all through the XD1000 location. All right. So are we all confused? All right. So now you understand the importance why we have flight 1 to flight 12. Right? It's just higher levels. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And once you get the 12 line center, you're one way set up through all geometry locations at different travels. You can go through a square, you can go through a circle, but you have to understand the importance how you get in from flight 1 to flight 12. So it's a ramping system. So you're about to take off, right? You're going here, 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 and up you go, right? So it's a beautiful thing once you understand how to travel through is another thing. So, all right. Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? I also see triangles and bigger ones, just like General was explaining. Yeah, and the thing is, too, I'm just showing you why it's so powerful to understand these things through calculations. All right, so if you want to change anything through all levels of shape, go to escape, right? Because you're escaping channels. So when you're escaping the channel, you're changing the vibration, you're changing the energy, changing the frequency, changing the colorations, you're changing your box position, location, and direction, right? The most important thing is out to understand is to use your chakra system as lights. Okay, so you got the spine graph in the center, and you got your lights and position locations, and then you can basically take off with lights and then come down with the lights. You got to see what you're doing, right? So playing at nighttime, lights. What do you think lights up your ramp? Runway, right? Communications, tower line centers, communication interference. So I know everybody's blown away. All right, so now you understand why it's so important how to use your flight navigations, right? It's all about how to use your keyboards, right? So it's sure you're understanding that. So that's how it's set up. That's how it's set up. Okay, now you know how to use your keyboards and align center, geometry, and interference of your 12 DNA locations, right? So, all right. Learning all these new functions on my keyboard. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Take a look at it, scan it, get your memories in there. Try to memorize all position locations. You have align center interference of what it is, right? It's all through your time frames and your test direct locations. The test direct is basically how to set up your computer. Now, the geometry line center is setting up location in your GODs, your bench operations, its calculations to its dimension. Division tactics is to understand how to use this through GOD, the geometrics, the design of you. Because remember, you are changing you in different colors, different shapes, different letters, numbers, and symbols. That's all it is. So you always use your flight navigations if you want to get into bigger round position locations of dimensions, portals, right? So now you know. It's exciting. All right. Wow, just wow. Yeah, so you use escape as escape channel. What that does is it changes the temperature reading of the heat signature patterns that you're correlating with. So let's say you're in the center operationalized center geometry interference location of a square box that needs its signal position location. Let's say you go to flight navigation 6, but you want to escape. That's fine. You say escape in high interference and you change the coloration to your shape, letter, number, or symbol. Doesn't matter. You don't need to just travel through a box. You can travel through a number. But you have to understand how to use your flight navigation system. That's all it is through GLD. That's all it is through GPS. You're locking your information panels on every single level you're traveling through. You have to set up the course on what you're doing through its position of your 12 DNA. Okay? So it's interesting, isn't it? It's fascinating to understand how you use your keyboards now. Time to party. I'll bring the chips and dip. So, all right. So I'll take you guys out of track center and position location to redirect interference. Program locations, high interference locations. We're going to go through the keyboard and high center. I'll bring you guys out in calculations. All right. Flight navigations 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They're in 12 line center interference. Bring it back to 12 levels. Communication line centers 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reset to visual locations. Bring it back to communication line centers, ground perception, interference location, and track centers. Done. You guys are back in high center location keyboards. All right. So that was a lot of fun. Understanding what the scepter is. But I went way beyond the phenomenon. How to use your flight navigation is all levels of your 12 DNA, right? So it's all about understanding this is the road. This is the road. I already know what it is. This is your runway. That's your runway. So all you're doing is basically setting the ground location, setting the power line interference, setting your magnetic highway information system. What is that? What does it come into? It comes into all levels of a tree, right? So this is the galaxy line center, right? When you look up, power line generation line centers is your position locations to your mothership. Mothership comes into all levels of your flash drive, which is its motherboard. That's a circuitry line condition interference. Circuitry board, mothership, ground line centers, tree formation, galaxy system. So that's how you set up all levels of travel, right? It calculates, modifies all line center interference, and you use your keyboards and all line rotation to its position location of its direction to its high line center to its computer operation line center to its position location of all position line centers to its modification to its Windows system of its computer. All right. So it started to make sense now why you guys are a computer. It's just understanding how to travel through it. It's kind of like how to set these things up. And I'm so excited to show you guys how you do these things in space. It's a beautiful thing. How you can change letters, numbers, and shapes and symbols in one track interference of your keyboard line channel location of its position. You're redirecting signals in high line center, crossing signals in higher rotation to its position of its directional location to its system. You're setting up signals, right? So this is a 7, this is a box, this is a weather line in rotation, this is a 0, this is a 1, this is a 2, this is a 3, this is a 6, this is the star line. Okay, this is the percentage location to its position, right? That's what you're doing with your keyboards. So the keyboards are set in high interference, electrical light and electrical panel line rotation of electrical light interference. So it's all position location and digital coding. So those signals come into graph interference, right? Now that key locks its system locations, right, into realms, right? Into realms, see? Matrix realm location. As a matrix realm comes into a line center interference, it comes into a high interference location of its division, right? So it grabs its green line center and its high interference location of its direction, okay? Channel and sideline rotation comes in number sequence. Now the number sequence comes into 0, 1s. Okay, it's all about understanding how to use it in position location of directions, all right? Try to understand the calculation of all lines. Because the high interference location of its direction, I truly understand is used through modification signals. Simulation graphs, high interference, computer adaptation system locations. 0, 1s. All right? So, there's a lot to understand how to use your navigations to your GPS. The geometry of you. What are you calculating through? Are you setting yourself up through a shape? Are you setting yourself up through a letter, number, or symbol? How are you setting yourself up through your flight navigations or your 12 DNA, right? So this is a true understanding. And anything you want to change in position locations, online center, go through escape. Okay. So it's the energy line center, the scepter line and line rotation to its communication. Sets positions of directions, okay, to anything through this connection. All right. So that's the importance to understand when you're traveling through all levels of the program setting. So, all right. That was fun. You guys having fun? Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense right after the divine of number 12. What is 12? What is 12 and 12? 24. Why is there a 12 on a navigation of a computer? Now you understand. They're different stargates. Ooh, pretty well, eh? That's how you travel faster, right? So you have to understand everything on here. I really want you guys into memory of communication, what this is to its keyboard, because it's going to be on your test, review, and evaluation. You have to learn how to go in space and high lines. You're going to go into simulators, the simuli, high interference locations. You have to go through your 12 DNAs and correlate every single line in position, location, of directions. Are you going through letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols? So if you're going through a letter, okay, which one are you going through flight navigation? Let's say you go through 6. All right, so what is 6 line? Okay, let's say you go through a circle, and then you go through a square, okay, and then you go through weather in position, location, and direction, right? So it's all understanding how to use the keyboards, right? Flight navigations from 1 to 12, all right? So if you want to change that position location, you escape in position locations, right? So it's like getting out of the dimensional line centers, lock rotation to its position location of its directions. Circle line interference locations. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 circle line in rotation. In communications, right? You got 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 position of direction. Now that high streams its high line center, electrical light interference location rainbow graph. There you go. Right? As you're going through that signal, sets up music tone, high center line connection, lyrics, high channel location is space line. So you got space line and you got time position, space and time, and high system line conditions. You split the division locations, you set the core line center into position location to Orion's belt, 3 line center interference, in position location and directions, right? So you can reset line channels in communications, go through the escape interference, circle a high interference, understand the ground line center rotation, circle its position location of its direction. Reset generation light centers as circles, comes into a rainbow graph of balanced communication system. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 rotation line centers. Now, if that's in position locations, now you've already pressed the escape line center, you can set up position location of a new direction location of a triangle. Okay, into a bigger triangle. So now you're going through all level system locations of higher line centers into higher position location of matrix into a simulation. Ooh, Complicated, are we? All right, guys. Talk to you later. Adios.